What is up, everyone? We are here, TCR Live, and we've got the band back together. We have not only Kyler Bird, but we have the one, the only, the man. I gotta say this, AVB. I've been thinking about you lately, and the thing that comes to my mind is the the only thing that out measures the hate in your takes is the love in your heart. I love you, man, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. So we are joined by AVB and Kyler Bird. We've got the band back together, the AZ guys, the Cards guys, whatever it was we were calling ourselves. So AVB reached out; he was available tonight. So we are so glad to have you with us to talk about the Cardinals on a week that isn't the best. It wasn't a win, but we will definitely get into that. But AVB, let's start with you. How you doing, man? Say hi to the folks. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And for the TCR universe out there, it's definitely been a while. I know I am able to pop in on game days in the Discord. I'm always going to plug that for you, Joe.
Thanks.
And whether you are with me on my opinions or not, that's fine. It's a free world. It's still great to have that place to discuss it, and that's why I'm here, because not only was I available, but this needs to be talked about.
It's a week that has some things to be said, isn't it? Kyler, how are you, my friend?
Well, I've been better. We talked last week about how we were talking about a win like it was a loss. And guess what? All of the major problems that we talked about seeing in those first two games, well, they finally came home to roost when we played an actual quality team coached by Kyle Shanahan. And now we are dealing with our first taste of loss for the season. But other than that, I'm just excited to be here with you two, because it's been a very long time since we've had Aaron on the stream, and he is one of my oldest friends in this space. So excited.
Blazing Zona days, man.
Yep, back in the day.
Well, let's say hey to some of the other folks that we got in the chat. We got a couple folks popping in. Austin Hoy, it's good to have you here. I'm actually here for your live for once. Go Cards, a regular in our live stream chats normally, but haven't had you seen you this season, so it's good to have you. Classy Nasty, what is up, my dude? What's up, Professor? Appreciate you being here. We got AZ Jace. What is up? AVB on 2. This is a big time show.
I
Love
am
you,
honored,
Jace.
sir.
Jace is a good dude. He's active in the Discord and just a really great Cardinals fan. We've got Lorenzo Tewahaftua. Thank you for being with us yet again. Been with us, I think, every week. Appreciate you hanging out with us. And of course, we got Dana. What? You have to score points to win? What?
Yeah, we went to the Mike McDaniel school of execution on that one.
We did, didn't we? We really did. But it is so good to have you all in the chat. We'll say hey to some of the other folks as they pop in. But we're going to get right to it. We've each kind of got a couple talking points. And the man of the hour, our honored guest, AVB, the recent father, the real papa in here, right? We're going to start with you. In your first talking point, when you sent this, I didn't have a double take. I was like, wait, that's Kyler's, right? Some love for Kyler Murray, or at least some ambivalence for Kyler Murray. So AVB, we've got here Kyler Murray. This one wasn't on him, so take it away.
Yeah, and if you followed any of my opinions, basically ever since I've been on Twitter with my sports page, I have not taken too kindly to Kyler in the past. However, there's some steps being taken this year, and other than the bonehead interception last week against, or 2 weeks ago against Carolina, and then this past Sunday against 49ers, there really isn't a lot to blame on Kyler, because I think Kyler is doing his best right now to rise above the ceiling that Drew Pessing is being put on him, which that's Drew Pessing is probably the most uttered word that Cardinals fans are going to be talking about this week. But I for once, Kyler is not to blame here. Kyler's making throws. He's doing pretty good, still making plays. He is running like he said he would. And I mean, other than in the moment I was mad there was a batted ball at the line of scrimmage. There really wasn't nothing for me to be upset about. When your quarterback is giving wide open throws and the receiver's dropping it, that he's not the problem. And maybe Kyler has kind of taken that next step. Of course, we're 3 games in, but we got a long way to go.
Dana is just like, what? Cats and dogs living
I know.
together, the apocalypse. Drew, good to see you in here, my friend. Asking Mike Daniel, Mike McCoy, right? So yeah, Kyle, do you want to respond to AVB's take there, and before, and I'll share my thoughts after you.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. I was probably too harsh in the moment, even on Kyler Murray in the Carolina game with that interception. I mean, the explanation later was he was trying to throw it away, and stuff happens in game speed. Stuff happens, mistakes happen. But other than that, Kyler Murray's been playing pretty well. I think he has been playing within the limits of the system that he is within, and as such, we're seeing a Kyler Murray that is trying to be transformed into a game manager. And it is completely antithetical to his actual skill set. Like it or hate it, the Cliff Kingsbury usage of Kyler Murray was actually probably a little bit more in line with what he truly is as an athlete. Like, just try to let him be a super talented athlete and play backyard football. And lots of times that worked out terribly and terrible things happened. Lots of times magic happened, and some of the best things that you've ever seen out of Kyler Murray happened in those occasions. But for what he has been given to do this year, he's been consistently one of the highest ranked grades on the offensive side of the ball on PFF. Take that for what you will. Passing PFF grade, he's 11th in the league over the first 3 weeks, averaging a 78.8. And overall offensive grade, I think he's
7th.
Yeah, 7th with an 80.8 grade. Like, by advanced metrics, by graders, Kyler Murray is not the problem going on right now. He's doing what he can in an offense that just isn't working.
I'd have to look back at the game to see where they fit within the drives, but it feels like 1 or 2 drop passes, if they're caught, we might have won this game.
Absolutely. 2 dropped passes, we would have won.
Easy. Yeah. I feel like, and I might be mistaken, I think one of the drops we still ended up scoring that drive. I'd have to go back and look, but at least I think there's at least a couple of those drop passes. And if someone remembers, please do correct me, that if they hadn't been dropped, this might have been a win, right?
That really bad Marvin Harrison Jr. drop, we did end up scoring at the end of that drive, but it was on the same drive he had that drop, and then also missed the touchdown that we got bailed out by pass interference. The Zay Jones drop obviously did cost us the game.
I was going to say, I don't even remember scoring on that drive because that drop just wiped my entire memory for about 5 to 10 minutes of real time, and just who knows, man.
Yeah, and as Jake Wetterly pointed out, DeMarcado dropped a wide open touchdown pass too.
Yeah,
so
that was in the red zone.
There were drops to be had by everyone.
It's funny because this season I finally kind of expressed like hey, if Kyler doesn't get it done, Kyler Murray, right? Because this Kyler Bird always gets it done. But if Kyler Murray doesn't get it done, that I was willing to be out on him. And here he is playing really well, right? I mean, at 7th highest PFF grade. Yes, the raw stats aren't great, but like this offense isn't giving him that chance, and it's not playing that kind of offense. And we'll talk about that in a minute with some, a certain person who won't be named at the moment that we're going to be talking about. But Kyler Murray, yeah, he's played well. Like, he hasn't had like a horrible game. Like, he's like his worst game was the New Orleans game, a 65.5 PFF grade, which is slightly above average, right? And every other game it's been 80s, right? And like, if you look in previous years, and again, it's early, so he could still go this way. He's had some rough games and good games, really highs, lows, and everyone's been saying we need more consistency out of him. Well, we've been getting consistency out of him so far. Unfortunately, the rest of the offense hasn't been doing it. So, yeah, I mean, if Kyler keeps playing like this throughout the season and throws a few better games in, I'm going to kind of definitely be like, yeah, Kyle, we need to stick with Kyle, and we need to fix some of these other problems, which brings us to Mr. Bird, your first talking point. Wide receivers. Does Drew Petzing know that they exist?
I truly don't know if he does, based off the first 3 games of this season. And we knew going into it what the base of the Petzing scheme is. It is a run heavy offense that requires the run game to work, and then also really favors middle of the field with really great tight ends. And you've got a great combination of tight ends, I think, too, with Trey McBride, great all around guy, but he's also really your wide receiver tight end. He's catching passes, and Tip Ryman as that blocking tight end. And where is the usage for a top tier wide receiver one? That used to be the question. Now we unfortunately have a subsequent question of, do we even have a star wide receiver? Because Marvin Harrison Jr. is looking a little bit iffy this year. Totally different topic, not the one at question right now. But just in targets from this game, Kyler Murray attempted to pass 35 times. He ended up with like 159 yards or something. First of all,
160.
that is bad. That's terrible. And the completion percentage wasn't even that bad. But of those 35 pass attempts, 13 of them went to wide receivers. That's not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was something I retweeted that someone else had put out, wide receiver usage in the NFL, and Cardinals were absolute bottom of that, right? So
Yes.
100%. And none of us have Marvin Harrison Jr. as a talking point. So I do want to take just a moment. We've been talking about him, and there's 2 layers of issues with Marvin Harrison Jr. And one of them is what we're talking about here. They aren't targeting him a lot, and they aren't using the receivers a lot. So that part, yes, maybe he could do more to get open, but if the scheme and the system isn't giving him a lot of those opportunities, there's only so much he can do. So that part probably isn't his fault. But I am starting to get concerned because of the drops. Does he have the yips, right? That's what they often say when someone just kind of mentally can't perform, right? Someone who knows how to do a thing but just can't. And I'm worried about that he might have that. But at the same time, I almost hope that's what it is, because you can work through that. And if he can work through that, then maybe there's hope. But I know there are some people who are going so far as to say, he's a bust. And I'm not there with Marvin Harrison Jr. yet. I mean, he's no Joe Alt, but I'm not ready to call him a bust. But I am worried. I am starting to get worried about him with that, just as kind of an aside on that. But something else I'm a little worried about is the running game, because we've been talking for the last 2 weeks about the run blocking. It's graded poorly. One of the things we did mention, and Blake Murphy went over this in kind of an analysis he did on the channel here, that there is some things league wide and some shifts that's going on the defense in terms of they're doing more to stop the run. And that's, it's interesting. This was such a pass heavy league for so long. And then it kind of ended up going to be it's like the defenses started kind of responding to that by kind of going in on the run now, right? And they're doing some things schematically to kind of handle that. So there is some of that going on, but the run blocking has not been good. Hasn't graded well. Couple players graded better, but James Conner isn't here to save us. He got injured, and James Conner is such a great running back. He even was having trouble running behind this line, but he can make something out of nothing sometimes. And he isn't here to save us. So listen, we've got some backs who can make some things happen, but they don't have what Connor has, at least not yet. We need to see this run blocking get better, so that the guys that are going to have to fill in, that Trey Benson, who's got speed and has some potential, they drafted him high, right, on day 2. But they got to get some things figured out in the run blocking to help make this work.
Yeah. And I have been thinking about this. We brought it up before. was Clayton Adams truly the linchpin of the success of this offense? Was the offensive line coach, that one singular assistant coach position, the single most important one on the team? And through 3 weeks, it honestly looks like yes. And yes, he's the offensive coordinator in Dallas right now. Someone on Twitter earlier tried to downplay one of my points by saying and Dallas is 1-2. Well, he's not the head coach, and have you seen Dallas's defense? They're
Mhm.
not going to win many games with that defense.
Have you seen their general manager?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
have seen that too. But the run blocking, this is all I'm talking about with Clayton Adams, that you need for a Petzing offensive scheme to work, which it can if you have elite offensive linemen and elite pass blocking. Um, Last week, Dallas, in a loss to Chicago, had, let's see here, 6 players grade above 68.9 in run blocking. 2 of them are 89.3 and above. You have Tyler Booker, your right guard, and Terrence Steele, your right tackle, both above 89. So you have an offensive line that is getting a ton of push and actually opening up something that is even making like Javonte Williams look like a pretty good running back this year. And a running game is not just about the running back. I'm very sad about James Conner. I thought he brought a ton of heart. Like, he's the heart of the team. Buda Baker's the soul of the team. I've heard that said. And like Drew is mentioning, Javonte Williams is averaging 5.1 yards per carry. You know what Trey Benson averaged in this last game if you take away his 129-yard run? 1.4 yards per
Oof.
carry.
Oof.
James Conner, I think, was averaging 2 point something before he got injured. The run game is not working because the run blocking is not working. It does not even matter who you have at running back at this point if you can't solve the offensive line situation, which I'm thankful we have. We have an offensive line guy here in the building tonight, so it's a great time to talk a little bit about why you think, just watching some of the tape from this loss, why the run blocking has regressed so much this year.
I want to just support one of your points. Like the argument that Dallas's performance as a team doesn't like undermine like he was an offensive line coach and he was good enough to become an offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Even if he isn't a great offensive coordinator, he's still a really good, offensive line coach. It's just like someone who fails as a head coach still can be a really good, like, coordinator, right? Can
right.
be an
And a lot of
elite
times,
coordinator, just right. So, like, that argument just doesn't carry water. The fact that he was good enough to be taken from an offensive line coach to offensive coordinator says something about his coaching.
right, very well respected guy, and obviously around the league, and his run schemes work, and it's working in a new place now. And what the Dallas's defense letting them down doesn't have any impact on how Clayton Adams is performing, just as much as Drew Petzing letting this entire team down shouldn't take away from the fact that Nick Rawlis is like a god amongst men and is giving us an elite defense, which we'll get to in a minute. But Aaron, I think you had some stuff about the
Yeah, jump
offensive
in
line.
there.
Yeah, and I mean, just where do you begin? I'm looking at my notes that I sent, in our pre-chat or pre-stream meeting or whatever you want to call it. I mean, just, and I know it's one of my talking points, but just like, what are we doing with this play calling? Why are we running sweeps to the boundary side? Or for those who may not know what that means, is you're running, if you're on the right hash, they're running the sweep to the right. So there's less field to work with. It should go to the field side so that way there's more room. We're running a full house toss to the boundary side. So we have 3 tight ends on the field. We're in 13 personnel. We have 2 tight ends in the backfield, basically stacked behind the guards, and the tight ends on the right side. And one of the worst things I saw was it was just student body right. Everybody went right, and there wasn't anybody coming on the backside or coming on the backside to prevent that backside edge from making the play. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was Bosa at that point. It was early on. It may have been Michael Williams. I don't know who it was, but a lot of the run play calling is because we don't have a backside seal. And then even when we do attempt to have a backside seal with Kelvin Beachum, who is, yes, right now he's a backup left tackle, he can't move. I mean, he sticks out like a sore thumb. I think it was, you can use a baseball analogy here. I think it was Craig Counsell who stood up like 90 degrees and had the bat all the way up.
Yeah.
It's it That's Kelvin Beachum. He is at 90 degrees, basically standing up, and when he goes to base block or just your conventional run block, his head is so high up. Physics say he's not going to win because those D linemen, especially now, they're absolute freaks. You're not, even if you do get contact with them, you're not going to move them. So Calvin Beachum, you go back, you watch the All-22, he will get hands on a guy, but he won't extend arms, he won't finish the run blocks, he'll get beat inside and then just end up being a ole block and oh yeah, okay, you made a tackle. Um, I I was never a pro offensive lineman, and so obviously there's something he may be doing that I never did. But as of right now, his stance sucks, and I hate it because it's a dead giveaway of when it's a run and a pass. Because if it's a pass or anything else where he is not directly blocking on the front side of a play, he's in that 90-degree stance.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
And Beachum has always been a better pass blocker than run blocker. He is a low end starter who's
Yeah.
and throughout his career, he's a starting caliber tackle, but he's late in his career, so he's like as often is the case with athletes, he's kind of trailing off. So listen, I'm glad to have him as a backup because he's a better backup than a lot of teams have because of all the starting experience. But you don't want him to have to start for you. But like I'm looking at his career PFF grades, and throughout his career, his pass blocking has been decent. Grades in the 70s, a lot of years, even a few years in the 80s. 1 year in 2014, a 90.5 pass blocking grade. But his best run blocking grade of his career was that same year in 2014, a 67.7. But most years are like 51, 55, 56, 50, like
Oh my God.
60. And I've said this before, 60 is baseline for PFF grade for not bad, not good. Like if you have a neutral play, it's graded as a 60. And throughout his career, most of the years of his career, with the exception of a couple, in fact, he's got 1, 2, 3 seasons where his run blocking grade is above 60 and all the rest are below 60. And this is a guy who has 10,000 snaps.
God.
Right?
I have noticed this going through PFF grades the past 3 weeks. The run blocking grade's real bad. By the way, nice to see you too, Mark Jackson. Glad for you to be back. But there's been a huge discrepancy between the pass blocking and the run blocking grades. And for a layperson who really doesn't understand offensive line play, I'm not going to pretend that I do. That's why I'm going off grades, because I have to use tools like that. But in this last game, Isaiah Adams, who I think you have an opinion on, Aaron, he graded well in pass blocking, 81.2. Yalta Froholt had a grade above 80 as well. It's the run blocking that's bad, like actually bad. And so why can there be in the same players just like a gap of sometimes 20, 30 points in pass blocking and run blocking?
Well, I think it's definitely a multitude of reasons. First off, Isaiah Adams has totally regressed from his hot streak that he had towards the end of last year. Looking at my notes here, I mean, this was one thing that Jonathan Gann was right about in saying, like, we do have to get our techniques and everything else related to that kind of cleaned up. Isaiah Adams, on the few minutes I got to watch on my lunch break, today and over the weekend, he's got his head on the wrong side. His steps aren't, his first step is a timing step, which is fine because if he redirects, you can go with him. But on a zone blocking scheme, if you put that foot down and then your second step doesn't go anywhere, you're toast. I mean, you have to at least move him north or north south, as they would say for a running back. He's not getting any drive, and it's not easy playing against Robert Saleh. There's a reason why he's been a pain in the bleep, for so long. So if you throw up, exotic fronts that literally have linebackers, kind of looking like I could go here and I couldn't, then that screws up my rules because we could be, let's say we're doing an outside zone. I could be +1 to the next guy down to the right. But now I got to worry about a linebacker blitzing, or then all of a sudden I'm head up and there's no one out to my right. And now my center also has a guy on him. So who's going to take who? I really think that Robert Sala's defense was the reason for it, but also technique on Adams definitely needs to get better in a hurry. And of course, Clayton Adams being gone, tier.
Yeah. And do you think that Will Hernandez is a viable option to replace
Oh,
Adams?
oh,
Think
absolutely. And there's a reason. Like I know people want to dog on Jonah Williams, but that's because he doesn't have Hernandez on the inside. When your interior guy, as a tackle, you know, is a lot better, or you can trust him a lot more. That takes off so much mental gymnastics in your head that you're doing, especially when it comes to the pass blocking game. You can actually pass him off on a stunt and then be ready for that looper or that whoever's coming around. Um, Hernandez brought like absolute hits, to that interior O line. I mean, I think there were a couple of hits in that Jets game before he got hurt that he was just mauling people. And I know they're trying to keep it for the long run, but at this point, you gotta get him back as fast as possible because, and we'll talk about the Seahawks game later, but this is basically your season here on Thursday night.
Yeah, I've said, Adams, I think because they drafted him day 2, they're trying to develop him and he does have the physical tools. I felt like they were giving him a little bit longer of a leash. But I've said like 4 games in, if we don't see improvement, then I'd be all for, kind of sitting him in favor of Hernandez. And, he's sitting at a 41.2 PFF grade. He did not have a better, his pass blocking was better.
it was good, but that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's a 40-point gap
Yes.
between his run blocking grade of like a 43.3 and his pass blocking of an 81.2. It's crazy. I've never
Well,
seen a gap like that.
and I would probably have to do a deeper dive on it and chart each thing, but maybe in the pass blocking scheme, they're calling that zone side protection to that right side. So if there's anybody crossing his face, he's passing it on the Froholt and he's waiting for somebody else to come by. Or he knows that when it's, when we're the zone side on the pass blocking scheme, I have inside help. And so that way I'm, my inside is over here to whatever this direction is on your screens, and I'm looking this way because I know I got inside help. So I have inside help there, which means I can step back a little more. If I don't have anybody, then I can go back and help out somebody else who's engaged with the defender.
Yeah, the pass blocking has been decent most of the year. I mean, most games, like Williams had a bad game pass blocking, but Beecham wasn't great this week. But like Evan Brown 66.3, Froholt 80.3, Adams 81.2. In the last couple weeks, the pass blocking has been overall pretty good. And so it's definitely that run blocking we got to figure out. And we're gonna have to figure out quick, right? Because like you talked about, Seattle's coming up. But let's for a moment talk about something that is maybe a little more cause for optimism, right? The defensive side of the ball, because the secondary, Kyler, the cornerbacks held it pretty well, didn't they?
They did, and I'm not sure that in this specific instance PFF grades will totally back me up on this, but this is a little bit more of a vibes thing. Going into actually before I get into it, I think Aaron, you wanted to say something on this last point, so go ahead right before I get into the cornerback.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say that, and I know Dana has been, a keen eye of this as well. There is no pinpointing going on these toss plays. There, because like it's all about leverage and angles. And if you can't create that on the offensive line, especially when you're going far and you're asking your left guard to fucking, sorry, pardon my language there, to haul butt out to the hash of the numbers, you got to have help to get there. Otherwise you won't. And if you don't have linemen getting hat on a hat, by the numbers, then running backs looking cut back lane, and usually there's a backside defender closing it down. So work on the pin pulls, get creative with it.
So cornerbacks.
So cornerbacks. After the absolute disaster of the Carolina game, where we saw all three of our starting cornerbacks go down with injury, we were expecting the worst news possible. I especially was. I really expected significant time out for all of them, and then maybe Will Johnson coming back. But great news ended up being Max Melton played. That's incredible. And Will Johnson looks like it's not going to be something super long. Hopefully he can play next week. I kind of doubt he plays a Thursday night game, but that would be great if he does. And unfortunately, Garrett Williams is going to be lost for the season, which really bums me out because he's such a special player and he's already dealt with injuries in his career. But I'll wish the best for him. So going into this game, you now only have one of your three starting cornerbacks that are going. Max Melton's out there, and he's going to be joined by Keitrell Clark, who has played a lot of games in the league, to his credit. He's gotten some pretty significant playing time over the past few years. And Denzel Burke was out there too. And yeah, Drew shared this chart with me earlier that Denzel Burke and Will Johnson are very, very close on this chart in terms of yards allowed versus passer rating allowed. Denzel Burke, he had a pretty good game for a rookie guy without really any starting experience other than coming in for emergency duty in that Carolina game. He is only credited with giving up, let's see, he allowed 23 yards. That was it. He gave up a long reception of 18, no touchdowns. And Max Melton, who didn't grade out well in coverage by PFF, but still gave up 48 yards and no credited touchdowns. Really, the only touchdown given up was apparently credited to Budda Baker. But the cornerbacks themselves, for a young group going through a lot, this is the second teamers, pretty much, all except Max Melton. I thought they played okay. And yes, San Francisco doesn't have any wide receivers except Ricky Pearsall. But Ricky Pearsall became a problem near the end of that game. So San Francisco somehow finds ways to make wide receivers work in ways that are just mysteries to the Arizona Cardinals. But I thought for a position group that went through a lot in a span of a week, I thought they came out and they played pretty dang well for what it was.
Like the grades weren't amazing,
No, they
right?
weren't. Yeah.
I mean, Max Melton, his defensive grade was 44.6. Let's see, we have Denzel Burke, his defensive grade 57.6, Keitrell Clark 62.2. But like they didn't give up a ton of yards. They didn't, I mean, they didn't have an amazing game, but for guys like that, again, like only one of those was a guy that you expected to be a starter, right, going into the season. Yeah. And yeah, they held up. And if only someone on this live stream would have said that he thought the cornerback situation wouldn't be so bad. I'm trying to remember who might have said that last week.
Remember.
But like, this is kind of what I thought would happen, right? I thought that the defensive system would they would use, Rabbit to help offset things. They would scheme things in a way that would kind of not expose those cornerbacks. They would play within the system, and I didn't think they would, have the kind of game, Will Johnson had his first week or anything crazy like that. But I figured they would not look like Marco Wilson. Right. Like they would look competent and get the job done. And it wasn't a bad game defensively, right? In fact, it was a pretty good game.
Expanding from just cornerback room to the secondary as a whole, let's say defensive backs, Keaton Crawford got a lot of play, and he played well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rookie 7th rounder actually got like starting snaps. Not much, but a few.
He was on the field for 6 defensive snaps with a grade of 78.8.
And he played good in those very limited snaps. And Rabbit, of course, he got the interception at the end that should have won us the game if the offense could have held up their end of the bargain. So Rabbit keeps playing himself into more playing time. This coaching staff under Rollis is going to give the best defensive backs, regardless of the little acronym next to their name, playing time, and I think we're just going to see a lot of Rabbit Taylor Demerson this year because he has earned his way onto the field for sure. So defensive backs as a whole, you've got an all pro safety, you've got the up and coming Rabbits, you've got Max, who is a little bit up and down, but he's still growing. And then we get Will Johnson back, and it's not a bad defensive back group. The defense is not the problem, is sort of the theme of the entire night. The defense is good. It is not the problem on this team right now.
I'm going to feel a lot better if we have Will Johnson on JSN as opposed to Sean Murphy Bunting.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, AVB, you messaged that you wanted to. I think this was a comment. Did you want to jump in on something? So I know we're going back to the O line a little bit, but
yeah, no, I just think this is interesting here because, I mean, it all depends on who they're going to keep of their active 53. I honestly haven't even seen that name. I'm not going to lie, on the Cardinals roster. So I can't remember what Paris's injury is, but this is a really good point by Thunder just for something to keep an eye out on as we get closer and closer to game day, which is in like 36 hours at this point.
Right. Yeah, Thursday night. Real quick, want to say, hey, we got Hank Hill in the house. Thanks for being here.
God dang it, Bobby.
Right. we got a lot of really a lot of faces we haven't seen in a while, so good to see you guys again. We got Ant. Man, the secondary, when fully healthy, and if the young guys keep developing, they might become one of those secondaries with a nickname, right? Like No Fly Zone and so on and so forth. So I this is something I've talked about. The secondary, especially the cornerback room, is young, so people were worried about it, but I felt like it was deep going into the season. It's just young because they've drafted all those guys, right? And Keitrell Clark is a guy he's this guy they drafted in the 6th round who has started for us before, and he's a backup, and now he's starting, playing starting reps. Denzel Burke is a rookie, but he is a guy they drafted. We're not talking about guys that we've picked up off the street or other teams' practice squads to have them start. These are guys who've been in our system that we drafted, right?
I want to build off of that because I want to say this. It's a little bit of a credit to Monty Ossenfort because we're finally starting to take these bigger time school and program players. I mean, Denzel Burke and everybody who's an Ohio State player that the Cardinals have just suddenly remembered you can draft players from Ohio State after a decade. It's starting to pay off. And also, these are guys that truly fit the personality of the Cardinals defense and under Rallis, in which we kind of hear about that in the offseason. Like it's so cliche, and what the hell does it even mean? Well, I think we're seeing it right now because as of a whole right now, even though the corners, Joe, like you said, were very young coming into the season, I didn't have that same kind of like kind of feeling about them going into this year as in years past. And so it's definitely said a lot about the culture and the things that are going well on defense. Now, if only we could get that to go on the offense.
Like Denzel Burke, he's a 5th round pick this year, 6th round pick. But he was the defensive MVP in the national championship game at Ohio State. Like clearly a big time player from a big time program, not some undersized DB from Tulsa that
or Jayon Buchanan playing Mike.
Hey, no offense to Tulsa, they have produced some good players, but the point remains. What Valdosta State is not providing.
Valdosta State here in Georgia, Mike.
Yeah,
FCS powerhouse. Get your facts straight.
Yes. Christian Matthew, Cardinals legend Christian Matthew.
Oh my God.
Well, wow. I mean, if that is who you want to run out as your emergency starting quarterback, that is up to you. I will take the Ohio State Buckeye with a national championship ring on his finger,
right?
And experience in big time games. And for what it was, I thought he played really well. Denzel Burke, he has some of the juice that you want out of a guy. He's more pro ready than a lot of other late round defensive backs we've taken in the past.
His coverage grade was 63.7, which isn't
pretty
bad.
good.
right?
Uh-huh.
His tackling grade has been his best grade, but like his grade this season in with let's see, 100 total snaps, right, is a grade of 62.0 for a fifth round rookie thrown into into the fire. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It's not amazing as a grade goes, but it's really, I'd say, a really good performance considering where he was drafted and what they're asking of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the quarterbacks, I think we feel pretty good about them, right? I mean, all things considered, and especially when they get guys healthy, we feel like this is a room that they like there are 5 or 6 guys that they've got that if some combination of them are starting, I'm not too worried, right? Like
Yeah.
moving forward. Um, so, um, so like that's kind of where I'm at with that. But overall, the defense as a whole, I think it's kind of for real, right?
No, it is.
It's great. It's
I
good.
Right.
mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Cardinals defense get talked about, and I like to pride myself on being kind of like a Cardinals historian. I don't even, I don't even know if we've ever had a defense this good. Maybe 2015, but after that, who knows?
Yeah, like I think this defense, like it's sorry. I think the defense, like they've got the players, and it's only 3 weeks in, but they've been consistent, right?
Yes,
Like they now listen, they gave up some points a little bit later in the game, in especially in the New Orleans game. But like this defense is like it's the amount of points they've given up. I don't know where it ranks, but I think it's like top 10 in terms of fewest points given up. Yardage, it's a little more, but that was kind of what we got from them last year. But like overall, like Rallis is doing a good job. We're seeing what we thought we'd see. This defense is progressing. It's becoming a strength of the team. So it's something I actually feel optimistic about.
Yeah, the defense feels like it's finally hit the right mix of there's actual NFL caliber talent at pretty much every position. Maybe the weak point's the linebacker room. But you get to pair that now with Nick Rallis, who has been calling a defense without that talent and having them play above their own level. Now you've actually given him real players and they look legit immediately. Like there wasn't a learning curve there. It was Nick Rawls was already a good defensive coordinator. He was already a good play caller and good at getting the best out of the players that he had. Now you just gave him better players and he looks great and that defense looks great. And like my friend Drew said in the comments, the defense plays like a championship caliber defense, but it's currently propping up a JV offense. And it's not going to result in a lot of wins. The defense has all the makings of a top 5 unit, but it's not going to show that way in the stat sheets when they're out on the field
right.
60 to 70% of the time and they get worn down by the fourth quarter. And yeah, the other team's going to score and they're going to end up winning the games. So they're being put in a bad position, but for what they are as a unit, they're good.
Let's not forget about how much Rallis has actually taken somebody like Baron Browning, who wasn't even on the team at before the trade deadline of last year, and has actually developed him into being somebody who is actually
Yes.
basically I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for saying this. Baron Browning is turning into what Dennis Gardeck wanted to be for so long. Now that's probably a benefit of having Calais Campbell and Josh Sweat, on the team. And whenever Walter Nolan gets back too, of course, Darius Robinson, but he's kind of AWOL and who knows where he is. Different discussion. But to see him develop and turn into somebody being like, okay, well, you may put a lot of attention on this guy, and all of a sudden he's making plays, pressures. He had the interception against Carolina, right?
Yeah.
First quarter. It's great to see the development coming out of that, and I know who just said it, Ant, talking about Rallis getting poached. He most likely will, and like to consume Cardinals content, and I've been listening to Ben Garcia show, and he is most likely going to get a head coaching job. I mean, somebody out there is going to give that dude the bag, and he's going to take it. So that's why Drew Petzing needs to get his spit, figured out.
What's up, Salty? Glad to have you here hanging out with us. Can we replace JG with Petzing? I like JG.
Rallis.
Oh, with Rouse. I'm sorry, with Rouse. Sorry. Yeah.
Be careful there.
Sorry, whoops. Yeah, I don't see that happening. I know there's a lot of people like that. I still like JG, what he's doing culture-wise, but yeah, I mean Rouse, he's gonna get poached, and hopefully they've got someone in the wings that they trust, but we got to figure out what's going on with that offensive. I know we're excited about the defense, but there is one thing I do want to mention. A guy we've talked about, Darius Robinson, again, another poor performance, and I'm pulling for the guy. But like this was his worst grade of the season, 37.7. He's gotten worse. And really kind of disappointing. I want to see it work out. He seems like a high character guy, a high work ethic guy. Had a rough go of his rookie year, but we're 3 games in and hasn't shown anything.
Well, I think this kind of, it parallels the offensive line standpoint when it comes to Froholt having somebody other than Hernandez in at left guard. Robinson has who at the other defensive tackle position? Calais Campbell sometimes, or whoever. Maybe they're playing an odd front, and he's got to be responsible from A to A gap or 3 to 3, whatever you want to call it. Until Walter Nolan comes back, I don't think Darius Robinson is going to improve. He needs another guy to take the heat off on the inside.
But I gotta say though, like the grades are so bad. I mean, I hear you. He's going to benefit a lot from that, but he's got to improve a little bit. I mean, Dante Stills, before they had Calais Campbell, was at least grading in the 50s, right? And Darius is grading in the 40s and 30s. So, like, I hear you. We're not gonna like. I get that, like that whole kind of unit will work together and it can help him, but he's got to do he can do a little better, right?
Yeah. PJ Mustipher is significantly outplaying Darius Robinson, a first-round pick. No shade on PJ Mustipher, but that's not the situation you want to be in necessarily. To spend a 27th overall pick on someone and for them to be grading 30 points lower than Mustipher and let's see, 20 points lower than Anthony Goodlow, who frankly I was not aware was on this team. So they're not good. Dante Stills was also probably our most consistent defensive lineman last year, and he's not playing lights out this year. Part of that is Calais Campbell's coming in and being just an absolute god of a man and playing like he's 25 again. Drew saying Darius did flash a couple of times on Sunday, made the stop on Christian McCaffrey on the goal line and forced the quick pass on the 4th down screen drop. Also had a decent rush where he dumped the right guard Max Lap. I saw him get some push every once in a while. He actually showed up on the stat sheet this week. He did get credited with 1 tackle and 1 hurry at least. But for the position he was taken at and the capital invested in him, Darius Robinson needs to show improvement quickly. He doesn't need to be a superstar necessarily, but you need to not have your first-round defensive lineman grading in the 30s.
Well, and then I think I could be wrong here, but I don't think Rallis is sending the house as much as he did in years prior. I don't think you see backers coming up from behind him, or maybe they're just like, hey, this guy, from an offensive line standpoint, this guy sucks so bad that we're going to double him. I can move him over. We can double team chip to backer. Boom, done. Now we're off to the races. So I think the blitzing could also be a reason for that.
This last game, I don't know what the numbers are yet, but in the first 2 games, we were 4th to last. So I guess we were 28th in the league in blitz rate. So we were not blitzing very much, particularly that Carolina game. Like we were just playing a 4 contain, don't let Bryce Young run. And there was like almost no attempt to actually rush the passer in that game and a little bit in New Orleans too. So that's part of why we're not getting like gaudy sack numbers or anything. Rallis is purposely playing like a contain the quarterback type of game.
Yeah. So I want to kind of get us towards getting out of here. So we're going to talk just a little bit about the upcoming Thursday night game against the Seahawks. But before we get to that, I just want to kind of from each of you just get your temperature on this team overall. Like all things considered, where do you think they are? Where do you think the season's going? I mean, obviously, we're worried about some things, but I want to kind of get a sense from each of you. So, AVB, where are you at with this 2025 Cardinals team right now?
I'm going to make a fun little analogy here. And you ever be out or have a relationship with somebody who you really, really, want to keep long term, and it's really early in it, and you accidentally say something wrong, and then you're like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And
Did
then
I
you
ruin
don't know
this?
what's going to go on. They're not responding to you. And you're in a kind of a cold sweat. And I feel like that's where the Cardinals are right now, in terms of the season, because you had a golden chance to be in first place, or at least tie for whatever it is in the division. And now you could be facing 0-2 in the division, literally in the span of 5 days. And good luck making the wild card at that point, because who knows what's going to happen later on down the year. As people always say, you got to stack wins early and often in this league. But with the way that Seattle seemingly won by 5 scores against the Saints, and the Cardinals only won by like 5 points against the Saints or whatever it was, this is critical mass for the Cardinals. All the stops need to come out. There needs to be creativity in both the run and the pass game. Defense with you basically need to keep it all in front of you, because we saw last year that JSN took like a 7-yard hitch and ran by everybody in Seattle. And that was infuriating beyond belief. And of course, like special teams, you got to make your kicks. So everybody has to, lock the bleep in, and we're going to find out what this team really is. If they've truly taken a step, they will show us Thursday night.
Kyler, what do you think?
I'm very much in lockstep with Aaron in terms of it's too early to just say this is a make it or break it game, but it sure does feel like one, sadly, for a game this early in the season. Just the way the scheduling breaks out, you have these 2 division games really early, and division games are the most important ones on your schedule. The path to the playoffs is the easiest if you just win your division. If you don't, you're fighting an uphill battle, and then you've got to beat a lot of teams that you probably shouldn't beat, and you're going to have to force those types of wins just to have a good enough record to make it. So it's a hard road to hoe to get to even the wild card, even the 7th seed, if you lose on Thursday night. So you can't definitively say, yeah, the season's over. Maybe we magically reverse the tide and we have one season where we start off bad and we get good and just have a crazy run towards the end. Maybe we have a Sean McVay type of season, start bad and get better. But historically, if the precedence has any play in this as Cardinals, the only chance for us is to get off to a red hot start to the year. And that was the most beautiful, perfect chance that we had this year to have a realistic path to 6-0 before the Packers. And now that's clearly not going to happen because we already have a loss. But if you lose again, 2-2 is not a terrible record just by the record. Of course, you can make the playoffs there. But 0-2 in your division, 2-2 with a much, much harder road coming up in the next few weeks. An Indy team that looks way better than anyone expected them to be. Green Bay, who looks like a good team, and then hard division games in the second half. It would be hard to believe with a loss on Thursday that we can make it. It'd be very difficult for me to convince myself to have hope that this is a playoff team with a loss on Thursday night in week 4, which is sad, but it is the state of things. We have to see, even if it's a loss, significant improvement on the offensive side of the ball. Significant for there to really be any reason to feel hope for the future of this season, sadly.
And one quick stat dropping in here: if your team starts 2-2, your chances to make the playoffs are 14.1%.
Okay. I'm kind of in a similar place to y'all. Like I said this, I think last week. There's a story of the season that's going to be told, and what this game means, it could mean a lot of different things depending on what happens as we move forward. Because there's a couple narratives. You can look at it and say, boy, that was another game where they couldn't run. It's where they lost James Conner. It's where we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. Has the yips. It's where we saw 3 weeks in a row Darius Robinson isn't doing it. It's the week where they had, where they lost, the first week without their starting cornerbacks that they've lost for the season, and this was the beginning of the end. But there's also a version of this week that is they went on the road against a division rival and nearly won, and were 1 or 2 bad drops away from winning on the road in the division with their backup cornerbacks, right? And Will Johnson comes back, and then they find, and they, and then if they get the running blocking going, and Will Hernandez comes back, and we start seeing some things move forward. And this was the 3rd game in a row where Kyler was consistent. Like, the story could be very different depending on what happens, right? And depending on your mindset, people are going to interpret this game either as we're toast, we're cooked, or we barely lost on the road to a division rival, right? And which story is true depends on what happens moving forward, right? So I'm like in this place where I'm like, well, we're 2-1, and we have not been blown out in the loss, right? In fact, it was a very tight loss that we almost won. And so I'm kind of in this place where I think the Seattle game is going to really affect how I feel about the trajectory of the season, because um, that's an important division game. It's the team that we kind of figured was the one in the division that we figured was like the weakest link, right? But if we can't beat them, that's a little bit of a problem, at home. And then, we got the Titans after that. But yeah, the Colts are, as I think someone in the chat said, like the Colts, or maybe one of you said this, Colts are all of a sudden a competitive team, right? And then the Packers. I mean, so yeah, the Seahawks game matters a lot. We were talking about last week, was it a must win? For me, I said it wasn't a must win, but we needed to win one of the next 2 games, right? So I kind of stick with that. So there's enough with Kyler playing consistent and the defense showing what they've got, and the fact that they're 2-1, there's enough for me to have some hope and optimism. But with the way it's gone, with the running blocking and the injuries, and Marvin Harrison Jr., whatever the hell's going on in his head right now, there's also enough for me to be worried. So it is very much in that liminal, ambivalent space, to use some really fancy words here, in terms of what's going on. So let's talk about, real quick, just any thoughts you have about the Seattle game. Looking at the Seattle game, I know we talked about some must win, but like, is there anything specific you want to see, or that you think is a key to the game, or anything you want to comment about this game, AVB?
I'll build off some of my points that I shared, earlier. Basically, the running scheme's got to be fixed. We can't be running an option play to the left, but also be whamming or using the tight end to pull and block the end guy in the line of scrimmage, the emo, and then expect it to go well, because it blocks the correct read for Murray. It muddies the hole in the lane for the running back, whoever it is. And, we were having, Trey McBride, God bless him, but we're having McBride come over and try to run block, on a whim, where that should be Tip Ryman, who is like Drew Petzing's, I don't know, fairy godmother or something. I don't know. But it just comes down to cleaning up the run game, clean up assignments, do the little things right with getting your head on the right side, talk as well. The one thing I learned in college is, like, you're going to go to that person anyway, and you might as well tell them, hey, I'm coming to you. I'm going to kick your ass, and I'm going to make sure everybody knows it. So, hey, I got him, and call it out. It's simple for that. Somebody on the offense needs to be playing with their head dipped in gasoline, because it's not going to come from Kyler Murray. And other than Trey McBride, I don't know anybody else who's willing to get in the face of everybody, other than Budda Baker and Calais now, But there needs to be somebody on that sidelines being like, you should not be sitting down. You need to be active. You need to be talking. You need to get your head in the game because, God dang it, our season's basically on the line. I want to stop it there. Otherwise, I'm going to ramble forever.
Yeah, I mean the Seattle Seahawks are better than I expected them to be. Frankly, I expected them to finish last in the division this year, and once again with their Seattle magic, they are better than expected. They are still no, they lost once. They're 2-1. But their defense is the surprise to me this year. Their defense is actually pretty good. And unfortunately, their defensive line is grading out really well in run defense.
Shocker.
It'll be a very hard unit to run against with the type of run blocking that our offensive line has been putting up. So there will be a huge emphasis, and should be a huge emphasis, on Kyler Murray in the passing game in this one to take advantage of uh, a secondary which has some good players in it, clearly, but you also have some regressing guys in there. Devin Witherspoon had that great season, is kind of regressing some. Same with Reek Woolen. Came out really hot and is not looking as amazing as he was. But the receivers actually have to do something in this game. I think this game will rest on the shoulders of Kyler Murray and the hands of his wide receivers, because our defense, Seattle's offense has been good, but I have full faith in them to handle it. I think we have to beat Seattle through the air. So this will be a test in many ways. Can we get a critical win? Can this very, very common criticism of Kyler Murray, can he win a big time game that his team absolutely needs to win to truly stay in contention? That's one thing. And two, can the offense figure something out to beat a good defense in the division? Because if not, it will be hard to see a hopeful road for this season if we end Thursday night with a loss.
This one worries me a little bit. I mean, Seattle has scored the most points and given up the fewest points in our division.
Yep.
They scored 88 points and given up 47. So the way the Cardinals have won so far has been much more based on the defense, right? I mean, the Cardinals have scored 62 points, which is only 3 points ahead of San Francisco for the and is the second fewest. Defensively, we've given up 51 points, which is, right there with kind of, it's technically third, but we got 47, 49, 51, then 61 for the Rams. But like Seattle is better than I thought. At least they have been so far, right? Darnold has been a little hot and cold, but I just wasn't convinced he was going to be good outside of Minnesota. And it's still early. He's got 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a decent quarterback rating. But this doesn't feel like the kind of game we're going to be able to grind it out and win, 15-12.
Yeah.
This feels like the kind of game where the offense is going to have to get their stuff together on the Cardinals side and put up some points. And the defense is going to have to, continue to do what they're doing. But I don't know that we're holding this team to 15 points or 12 points. I think we might have to score more than 20 to win against Seattle. Maybe our defense can play really well and keep them, to 18 or 20 points. But, it's an important game. It's a bigger game than I thought it was going to be, looking at the calendar, looking at the schedule beginning of the season. So here we are, 2-1, 3 weeks in. There's still some hope, but there's some things to be worried about. And here we are, 4 minutes over an hour. So we've been shooting for an hour. We've gone a little over, but not too bad. Like, it's not our marathon 3-hour live stream. So I think we're doing okay. So we're going to kind of get out of here. So we're going to go around, shout out anything you have going that you want people to follow. Let's start with you, AVB Sports. Where can people find you, and what of yours should they check out?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle's right there on the screen. Obviously, my son was just born a couple months ago, so things are a whirlwind. If you're really interested in watching a documentary that I made, I spent all summer working on it. It is about a Division III college team that eliminated its program midway through the season in 1992. Wisconsin Superior is the name, and I spent 3 months researching, interviewing, and putting together and learning a whole new editing system together. So if you're really bored one of these days, or you want to distract yourself from Cardinals football, whether that be good or bad, it's definitely worth a watch. If you search Untold Story of UW Superior Football, it will show up on the channel named The Third Division, which is another Discord that I am a part of.
Mr. Bird.
You guys can find me on Twitter. I'll be there.
I love it. You guys can find me here on Twitter. You know where to find me. Thank you all for hanging out with us. I hope I got at least one comment from everyone up here. If I missed you, I apologize profusely. It was so good to have you all here and to see some faces we haven't seen in a while. We appreciate you being here with us. We're going to be talking Arizona Cardinals every Tuesday night. Tell me Joe is hosting without saying Joe is hosting. An hour and 45-minute live stream talking about receiver routes. Right? Yeah. Brian, thanks for being with us too. We're going to get out of here. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time, everyone. Here's hoping we get a win on Thursday Night Football. Take care, everyone. Peace.
Chad Ryland, 47 yard